Hello everybody, and welcome to a video on a lot of people's favorite addition to patch 1.0, the Scrapper. I've been doing a lot of Eclipse runs over on my stream. You know what's coming next, don't you? Twitch.tv/Woolie Gaming, baby! And I cannot imagine doing them without the miracle worker that is the Scrapper. Seriously, it is such an integral part to my overall runs, both in and out of Eclipse difficulty, and I get questions quite frequently on its general usefulness, when to skip it, when to use it, so now is the time to cover it all. First off, the Scrapper itself is an interactable that can spawn at any point in your run regardless of time, stage, etc., and allows you to choose any white, green, red, or yellow item and turn them into, well, scrap, as in scrap metal, as in junk. Why would you ever want to intentionally give up any item that has an actual effect for a piece of junk, you ask? Well, because these pieces of junk are always prioritized at 3D printers and lunar cauldrons. By using a Scrapper, you're essentially saying, okay, I don't really need this item's effect right now, so I'll trade it in here at the Scrapper in hopes that at some point down the line, I find a better item at a 3D printer and can guarantee some prints of it before I start losing my good stuff. Obviously, if you're a newer player, this premise is daunting. When you use a Scrapper, you are directly trading off some of your power for potentially more power down the line. The issue is, how do you balance that randomness out? Is there even a way to? Well, to put it bluntly, yes, you can mitigate it heavily. Now, a lot of what I'm about to cover comes down to your personal experience, playstyle, and knowledge of the game as a whole. So if you are one of those newer players I just mentioned, a good place you can start getting such knowledge would be my item and equipment tier list, link in the description below. As I said, the Scrapper turns an item into scrap of its respective tier, meaning using a white item will create white scrap, a green item will create green scrap, so on and so forth. Lunars and untiered items, currently only a consumed Dios and Spineltonic debuffs are the only untiered items, cannot be scrapped. Also, it's important to note that the Scrappers will only take a maximum of 10 stacks of a single item, and you cannot choose how many stacks it takes. For example, if you had 6 stacks of crit glasses, the Scrapper would take all 6, whereas if you had 12 stacks, it would take only 10 and leave you with 2. Because scrap is tiered, this means that it is very important to understand both, 1, the power of a given item in relation to its respective tier, and 2, the power of a given item in relation to your current run overall. In 99.9% of situations, you would not scrap, let's say, a pair of crit and then print a monster tooth because of that massive discrepancy in their power, right? Well, maybe in that 0.1% of situations, you just needed a tiny amount of healing and would die and lose the run without it, such as having a lack of mobility and then being swarmed at the teleporter or something. Thus, this hypothetical scrap and print situation would end up being the right call. Because of hypotheticals like that example, it's tough to give a golden rule that covers each item and when to scrap versus not, but there definitely are some items that I'd be comfortable trading in for scrap at pretty much any point in a run. Here are the best general guidelines I can offer for choosing when to scrap. First, if you are still within the first 4 stages of your run, I would not scrap at all unless you have both a Scrapper and a printer on the same stage. It's simply not worth losing the early game power that most items provide to potentially get a few prints, so unless you're going to use that scrap on the same stage in which you got it, skip any Scrappers you see before stage 5.
Maybe I shouldn't be greedy. One more. I knew it.
Once you get to stage 5 and beyond, however, you'll have enough items that your overall power should be spread nicely between them all, and this is where the Scrapper truly starts to shine. Entering your second loop and beyond, you can start freely turning the weak or obsolete items into scrap without much, if any, loss to your overall strength. However, and this is a big however, I would strongly recommend to avoid scrapping green items unless you are A, entering a blue portal and plan to print at the red cauldron, or B, see a green printer on the same stage as the Scrapper. Reason being, there is just no guarantee that you'll find a good green printer in a run, and you're better off holding on to even your least desirable items because, hey, they're better than doing literally nothing like scrap would. And let me be especially clear here. Do not scrap your reds under any circumstance except for when you see a red printer on that stage. Red scrap is only used at red printers, and when was the last time you saw one of those in general, let alone a good one. Yeah, pretty much never. To summarize here, scrappers will only ever take a maximum of 10 stacks of an item, but you cannot choose the number it takes, so 4 out of 6 stacks will not work. Skip scrappers before stage 5 unless you see a printer that you want on that stage. Common items can be scrapped freely at stage 5 and beyond, and avoid scrapping greens and never scrap reds unless you already see the printers. For some specifics now, here is a list of items that I would deem scrap worthy given the context of what I just covered. Remember, this is not a golden rule by any means, but it is rather a template for you to get the general idea. For commons, fireworks, fungus, non-engineer of course, slugs, provided that you have some sort of leech or just better healing, crowbars, focus crystals, non-melee, fresh meat, gasoline, med kit, again provided you have better healing, monster tooth, again healing, yada yada, personal shield gens, rusted keys, stun grenades, and war banners. For uncommons, bandoliers, zerker pauldrons, chronobaubles, death marks, unless you are consistently proccing them already, gore's tomes, daisies, razor wires, red whips, rose bucklers, squid poglips, and war horns. For reds, just don't do it. Seriously, on the off chance that you found a red printer and a good one at that, I think you'd have enough experience by then to understand which of the red items you currently have would be a good choice to scrap and print. But for real, just don't scrap your reds. For yellows, vagrant wieners, beetle glands, little disciples, and titanic knurls. But it's worth stating that I would only ever print mired urns, perforators, and shatter spleens, so unless you see one of those printers, I would just keep all of your boss loot as well. For the white and green items, the printer also matters quite a bit, although to a much lesser degree for whites. So it's important to understand the power trade-off that will occur by scrapping X item in order to print Y. And as I stated earlier, understanding that relationship is based on your personal experience with the game, your play style, and the context of your current run, all of which I can't directly comment on for obvious reasons. If you need more information, check out the plethora of other videos I have on items and playstyle tips if you need it. And that does it for everything that I wanted to cover on the Scrapper. What are your thoughts? Think it's a great addition for player agency and controlling the outcome of your runs, or do you think the Scrapper is a piece of junk? Let me know with a like or dislike on the video and a comment below. You can check out my stream at twitch.tv/WoolieGaming and consider joining our Discord server as well. Thank you for watching.